Yeah. That's what I know. I asked for more money. He was here once in a while, and the kids, every time I come by, he's not here. Need that job.
No, I need your wife's job. Nothing.
Oh.
I do a lot.
Search for you.
Why does she, does she,
Man, what are you saying?
Keep on going.
Your fingers do a lot of work.
I know. That I know on a first basis.
That's fine. Well, that's it. So, control. Well, I believe it's fine.
Next Monday.
Well, good for you.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
I didn't.
No.
You get the. Yeah.
I texted them yesterday, wish my happy birthday.
From about 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock last Sunday. Everybody was calling and texting me.
Laughing, but happy
Laughing? Yeah.
See what to do now.
Right down.
Hi.
I bring it to you, but I can't instead.
Did you bring some bubble gum to share with the rest of
No,
the group?
come on. Give me the.
I get a pass.
Oh, right.
Nice. That's good. Oh, boy.
Well, hi, Mr. Rippy.
No, it's fun.
Glad you saved me.
Just here, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You did very
I don't know which.
Ma'am, we'll be down then, because the work fit
I guess I have to.
somewhere,
There we go.
or someone's gonna
Yeah,
have
one
to
more.
switch in.
I'm seeing.
Gotta squeeze one more in here.
We need to bring in the parent.
You'll be ready.
Did you say?
Oh, that's.
It is.
I gotta go then. You know, I'm backing in. Yeah.
I'm well. See.
Yeah, I think it'll give us, I guess. I read it, I'm thinking, I'll see them. Yes.
Around. Yeah. Finding my. No, this microphone.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring them over to me. Yeah. You? Share. I like that. It's not on, it pushes to come on and it's.
Not on this one. Just gonna keep my eyes open.
Well, the screens are all.
Sounds like it.
Let's use that.
No, but our next,
Somebody's got to, Gene.
it's not muted though, so whatever you are saying. This friend.
I know, I've got it. And I'm like.
There, now you can be heard.
Okay. Already.
Feels better on that.
That's the right to do that.
Oh, you're my boss now?
Hey, Andy.
Thank you.
You're all set for fun meetings. Nathan was supposed to go check and get us. I was here and Nathan was here.
Right, everybody shoot.
I'm getting confirmation to, but.
Guy, I already sent it in the paper. I already sent it in the paper. You told me to send it in for Monday.
Okay.
So,
Good.
Good night. Good night. Don't drink water. Anybody need water? People?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're getting up.
You don't.
Good.
Oh, it's all good.
Everything you were on, I'm gonna ask. Yeah. I got it.
Yes.
So much.
Yeah. I'm down. And so if you see it, and which one? So this.
I'll let you know.
Like it's not.
Oh, gee. That's. Mike, yeah, and Larry.
Comes down, so I'm hoping it.
I think our. Yeah, and then side stuff up.
So yeah, it's my son-in-law.
Casey's got some parts in their back of the garage because theirs ripped off into the neighbors,
I saw that.
everything,
I know.
and they got a new one, but the old one still lays there. The short station. I just walk down and see if you need an end.
Yeah.
He's got an end down there.
A little cocktail.
It's the pipe that goes out.
See what he's got.
Okay.
And we give it.
My son.
Yeah. Yeah. I went for it, and then she's like.
It's his deal.
Okay.
They're both thing. That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody. It's 7 o'clock and we start the meeting. So with that, we start with roll call and I have everybody introduce themselves. I'll start. I'm Bill Hanna. I'm the president of the PDD Planning Committee and I'm at 208 West Clear Lake Drive. That guy?
Guy Ryder, street utility superintendent.
Jessica Swander, 7382 East State Road 120.
Tim McLean, 1226 Quiet Harbor Drive. Paul, 154 West Clear Lake Drive.
George Schenkel, 144 West Clear Lake Drive.
Dan Rippey, 126 Lakeside Court.
Mike Clark, attorney to the planning commission.
Robert Hawley, zoning administrator.
Robert, you have a quorum?
We have one.
If you review the Zoom meeting instructions, Robert, for those, we have just one on, is that right? I think- Yeah, I thought we were gonna get one on. Yeah, I hope so too.
Sorry. So, just make sure, when you guys speak, your light's on, you're kind of going facing your microphone, so Jen can, read back the minutes while after we're done with this, and those of you in the public, our speakers in the, ceiling, so just keep the, conversation to a minimum, so people that are on Zoom can hear clearly. Appreciate it.
Okay, then with that, the agenda's on the screen and you'll see a couple markings, so before we approve, we need to have a motion and agreement to proceed. So we have a proposal to amend the meeting. The rezoning request by the Andersons has been removed on their decision. They just decided not to proceed. And then we have a small new business update in blue on a permit that is in progress, and we have discussed it. I just want to make the committee here aware of where we're at on that. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to accept the amended agenda.
Go ahead. So move, make a motion to accept the revised agenda for the evening.
And second,
George, and I'll second the motion.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to accept the agenda and proceed. First order of business is approving the meeting minutes. So Robert, will you display the meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Sorry. Trust everybody's had a chance to review, look for any issues. They're up.
I apologize about the other screen, I do not know what's going on.
Okay, any questions or corrections to the May 2nd meeting? Hearing none. Accept the meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
We got a motion to accept us, have a second? I'll second. A second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to accept the May 2nd meeting minutes, is carried. Next agenda item is the budget items, which we have none at this time. So, Nate out there, yeah, there we go, sorry, Nate. Next item is application petitions or hearings, and we do have a rezoning request 202301 from the Krill. Yeah, is the Krill to be on the agenda? Oh, he is on Zoom, so very good. So let me just describe the order of process here. We'll have a staff report that Robert will review. PC has an opportunity then to ask Robert any questions for clarity. Then the applicant will present. Then we'll have any questions from the PC to the applicant. Then we'll open it up to the public for any comments. First comments would be those of you that are in support. And then we'll follow that with any of you that oppose. The applicants will have the opportunity to make their comments if they come to the podium.
Hold it in your hand, you're shaking around.
Here, someone, those of you who are on Zoom, please remind to put it on mute, although Robert may be manually muting you. So the PT then will have some discussion. And the applicant will have the opportunity to sort of make a rebuttal, a comment for any of the public comments. And we'll all, as a group, have some discussion. When we complete that, I'll call for a motion to make a recommendation. The PC makes a recommendation to the town council. Ultimately, the town council makes the adoption. So we make a recommendation as it's favorable, unfavorable, or if necessary, no recommendation. So that'll be our order process. With that, Robert, staff report.
All right, so. Received the application from Bruce Krill. Bruce Krill, has addresses outside the state. I can't remember, it's Clear Lake. Anyways, it involves two properties along Lakeside Court. The zoning currently is neighborhood commercial. The applicant is just seeking it to be rezoned to single family residential. Current use, there's vacant, they're vacant lots, there's no established structure on the property. To the north, we got neighborhood commercial, which is county property and is vacant. East, we got neighborhood commercial property again, which is known as pub. To the south, there's single family residential, which is actually Bruce's Clear Lake home. And then to the west, single family residential or SR. Actually, that is supposed to be LA or LRM least, since it's late residential. So the lot is relatively flat, no improvements. There are two lots that are triangular shaped, which establishes them as lawful non-conforming lots due to their size and shape. According to the future land use map, the area is not considered for future residential development, but the requested zoning does touch the single family residential zoning district. See attached exhibits today. Public notice was published on July 18th. In the Herald Republic, and legal notice was posted outside the town hall. There were 4 adjacent owners that were sent legal notice. 26 were sent internet, or 26 were sent courtesy notices. Notifications were sent out to everyone within 300 feet. So in addition to what I submitted, I've also included the criteria under the UDO for decision and final action, which Bill did describe a little bit. These are just highlighted areas. So everyone that was sent a notice, everyone in the pink was served a certified notice and received, and I have return receipts on file. So those were all compliant with that. This is just the overview map of the property and all the notices that were sent out. You can see that there are 2 triangular shaped lots. So with all the notices were sent out, we did do our feedback form that was online. And the results of that, we had 63 full total responses to the rezoning 2023-01, 1 in support, 62 in opposition. So in the first column where the numbers are, those are the total number of people that click that particular issue as a concern. So 15 people clicked undesirable view shed. When it says a percent of total, that is the percent of total people that click that actually oppose the request. And then the comment sections is that's the number of comments that received under that specific item. So we had 15 residents click on undesirable view shed. In the comments address concerns of overcrowding second tier housing and feel that this does not follow comprehensive plan. So under the section for harmful to natural resources, we had 28 people select this category. 5 of the comments, and I picked the ones that came up the most. So the 5 of the comments expressed concerns that increased population and structure would affect the surrounding natural resources. For the section for undue strain on infrastructure, there are 35 residents that clicked this category. 6 of the comments addressed that approval would create more traffic, sewage, and electricity use. For risk of personal safety, there was 26 residents that collect this section. 5 of the comments cite that there is a concern for the public beach users related to their safety. So public beach comers and goers. Undesirable development density. This is one of the top categories that was selected at 55. 11 of the comments expressed that they did not want to see more development would affect property values. Undue strain and enforcement. We had 18 people select this. Only 4 people commented, and most of the comments were inconsistent with one another, but it basically summarizes to just because there's a few more people coming in, it could cause more enforcement needs. So undesirable aesthetic appeal, 30 residents collect this category. 3 of the comments were about wanting to see the continuation of the small town appeal. And this is unwanted density. And then increased population, 51, which is this is the second largest category that's selected. 12 of the comments feel that the community is overcrowded as it is essentially. So that is recorded and placed on file. I think it worked great. So that's everything for the feedback. So this is the future land use map. This, let's get back out of here. Okay, so this is not our zoning map. This is what the potential use of property can be in the future in the town. So the areas aren't going to coincide with our zoning districts, but as you see, there is low density residential to the south of the red blotch, which includes the 2 properties in the red blotch, which is low intensity non-residential, which is a commercial district. So as you can see, it wasn't slated for future use. This is the applicant's application. The request for the rezoning, to point out here is it's just looking at, he wants to combine the 2 properties for residential use in the future. Currently the lot is unusable in its current zoning district for a residential application. And that's just a close-up view of the 2 shapes. So that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Robert? Clarification of the application or anything we'll see?
I have one comment, 1 or 2 questions. Robert, first of all, the address of the petitioner's home is 101 Lakeside. That's where he currently resides, not the property next to it that we're talking about. Second, the question is, you indicated that his current home is zoned lake residential.
No.
I thought I heard that.
To the west. So if you look at the map behind you. So the gray spot is like residential. I did not, okay, the other home, his home or his property to the south is single family.
Okay,
So I just mislabeled the western property that abuts this, the rezone.
okay. And just one other question, as we talk about the future land use map, you know when that was developed and who developed that?
That one was developed in 13. When, you guys did the
Kind of get the plan.
comprehensive plan.
Thank you, that's it.
Any other questions for Robert? Okay, hearing none, then we'll proceed to allow the applicant to present their case. Mr. Krill, are we on? Unmute him.
You're muted, Bruce.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The
Okay,
stage is yours.
good afternoon. I'm just basically wanting to defend myself on, I've been there since 1991. I have 2 children. I'm looking, not in the near future, but possibly putting something on those 2 lots and combining them. Just for something in future for value for them. I really don't think it would cause any undue stress on the area. It's just, vacant lot. My place is on the other side and, the county owns the lots to the north. So I just was hoping that the council would allow me to make it a residential plot and, maybe in the future or maybe when I'm not around here, my kids will be able to do something with it. But right now it's basically, just mowing the lawn. Hello, did you hear that?
Yes, we did, Bruce, thank you. Anything else, to address for example, the criteria that the planning commission had to assess your application?
Rephrase that again for me.
Yeah, so earlier we reviewed the 5 or 6 criteria that the planning commission would use to assess your application and to assess a favorable or unfavorable. Any comments around those criteria that help us judge how we should see your application?
Yeah, I think my application meets all 5 criteria. I mean, it is, talking with Robert, it is a buildable lot. I can get the square footage needed. I can get the design that's desirable by Clear Lake. So the aesthetics are nice. It's not going to be a garage looking building when it's done, but I'm just saying it's going to be a nice a house that's very usable for my children.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Krill?
I have a couple. Bruce, this is George Bankel.
Okay.
I'm curious if you were aware when you purchased the property of how it was zoned at the time of the purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't, to be honest, I didn't know it was 2 triangular lots. And my hope in the beginning was to put on attached garage or something, but in talking to Robert, that's not feasible because they're in different plats, I guess. That's kind of why I went this route.
Okay. Could you tell me what the square footage is of those 2 lots when they're combined?
Robert probably has that information. I'm not sure.
Some other ones from this term.
Well,
I think it's like somewhere around,
3,045.
okay.
3,045 is the base. Bruce, and Robert also, what is the requirement of square footage for a single family home?
It's 800, for the main floor, and then 1,200 square feet total.
1,200 or 12,000 in property? Lot size.
Oh, for the lots.
Right, yeah.
7,000 square feet per estimate.
Single family residence?
With 7,000.
What I have in our UDO, page 2-13, which is 2.12. In the development standards, it says the minimum lot area is 12,000 square feet. Additionally.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, additionally, it's 70 feet in width. And as I look at the drawings that we have, the width of the lot is about 35 feet, and it's 3,045 square feet. So it is way below the minimum standards of a buildable lot. So I'm confused why we're thinking this is a buildable lot.
So,
Well, many of the places that are currently there are, my home isn't on 12,000 square feet. Is this,
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on your home. Your home, I believe, was built in 1948. I don't believe we had the same standards that we have today.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think your lot that you're sitting on is about 8,137 square feet.
When I was talking with Robert, he told me that it was a buildable lot. That's why I pursued it.
my theory behind this is because, when you take the lot width and the lot size, this is when you're creating new lots, like separating them out. These are two lots that are being pushed together. At that point, it's potentially buildable if it can meet the setbacks of UDO and other regulations. I mean,
Correct.
we can't get 12,000 square feet out of these lots. That's impossible, but it's a lawfully established lot. So then theoretically, you can establish a building. It doesn't say it's unbuilt, like, there's nothing that I've seen in the UDO that says to establish a structure, you have to have 1,200 square feet or 12,000 square feet.
Well, I believe the development standards are rather specific with that.
The, with the setbacks, as we sat down, Robert and I, a building could be placed in there though. And that's what I went on, in talking with Robert. He said, yeah, it's buildable. So I pursued it.
Well, and if you jump to the side yard setbacks, which is 10 feet on each side, that's 20 feet and your total lot is 35 feet. So that leaves you a buildable lot of a house that's 15 feet wide. I believe mobile homes are wider than that. I think they're about 16 at the minimum.
Well, I'm not sure the size of the lot, but when Robert and I were talking, he told me it was 40. So that would have left a 20-foot.
But
Buildable.
I told them the survey would have to be.
Yeah. Well, the
sorry?
best I can come up with is 35 feet width.
Yeah, I just received information on it. So, but, yeah, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't realize, or I didn't see anywhere in the UDO that says you can't establish a building on a lot with the minimum lot size.
Well, I think that's probably going to be a legal opinion here because the minimum lot size of a single family, and this is, we're creating a single family here tonight, or wanting to create a single family residence. And the UDO is very clear, it's 12,000 square feet. I'm not sure how we can possibly compromise down to 3,012. You know, it was 11,900, yeah, we might want to talk about it. But going down to 3,045 is a significant reduction in what our standards are.
So basically a lot to be buildable, it has to be 100 by 120. How many lots on Clear Lake are that big?
These are single family residents. The criteria for a single family resident, the minimum lot size, Bruce, is 12,000 square feet. We don't have specific dimensions other than the width must be at least 70 feet wide. And your width, as I calculated, is 35.
They only want.
So you're half of the legal width of what you want to do.
So, okay, section 8.05, legal non-conforming lots. A legal non-conforming lot shall be permitted to be developed so long as the desired structures and uses meets the current UDO ordinance. So these lots are lawfully established lots.
They were creating a new lot.
So, okay. If he combined these, I'm not saying this should be approved, but if he combined these before he did this, we allow that combination because one, it's lessening a nonconformity. They're taking two smaller lots and making them bigger, even though it's not bringing it into conformance. And so, and it's still a lawfully established lot. And then if you went for the rezoning, the lot had already been established anyways. You see what I'm saying? Well,
I hear you. I'm not sure that I totally understand.
So in the 8 years I've ever done this, if it's a lawfully established lot and you're restricting the building size because it doesn't meet the minimum square footage requirements, even though it was lawfully established, that's a governmental taking. So you have to, the only time that those standards really come into play, yes, you wanna encourage it, but he doesn't have the extra square footage to bring out of it. So the only time I ever see it really play in effect is when you like break up an acre lot and you're trying to get multiple lots out of that. That's when those standards really come into play for establishment of new lots. But when you're combining the lots, I don't see it that way.
Well,
George, yeah, just so you guys are clear, I mean, you're not being asked to create any new lots, but all you're looking at is rezoning right now, so. You're rezoning two triangular shaped lots. If he ever wanted to build, he would have to come in and try and do an administrative subdivision, combine the lots, and then he'd also have.
I can't, you gonna say hello or something?
Hello? I lost you.
Do you see the, still clicking time?
Mhm. Hello? Hello?
I'd get up and move around or something. You're in the middle of.
Okay, you can hear me. I can't hear you guys. Hello?
Are you still on?
They're texting me now. They can hear me, but I can't hear them.
Townofclearlake.org or something?
Hmm.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. I think we're back.
Okay.
Dan, your question for Robert or for later on discussion points?
No, actually, Bruce.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I just wanna clarify, some of the things that I've heard. So your intent is to do an administrative subdivision in the future? To combine these two, lots, should you be successful in the rezone?
Yeah, correct. That's, basically, I don't know when this is all gonna happen, but, probably combine the lots within the next year. And then, I don't know what's gonna happen with, if it's buildable, I just wait and see, I guess, but I want that opportunity. If it's available.
And part of why I think it's relevant tonight to understand that is that from a planning commission perspective, our primary role is to ensure that we're promoting orderly and orderly development in the future. And so, what we're being critical of currently is I'm not sure how to meet the requirement of an orderly development if we're setting this up as an SR lot that you intend to combine administratively into a single lot that doesn't meet any of the setback standards or lot areas or width. So I'm personally struggling with what I'm charged to do, is to promote orderly development. That aside, am I correct in understanding that you want to build a single family residence on the combined lots?
Yes, I like I said, when I originally bought it, I had thought that possibly I could put a, attached garage onto my current residence. And then maybe, a room above it or whatever. That was kind of my goal, but since that wasn't possible because they're in separate plats, and I talked to Robert, I approached this method.
Yeah, I was curious as to whether you were considering maybe combining it with your current SR lot and making one singular large lot out of the various lots, but that's not the case. You would like to end up with your current residence and an additional residence.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, when I'm in speaking with Robert, he told me that I wasn't able to do that because the two triangular lots and my home were in different plats. I could be using the wrong word.
So, and according to the assessor for the county, you can't combine two different subdivision parcels together.
Okay, thank you.
And actually my hope in the beginning was to combine all three lots, instead of the two. But I guess that's not possible.
Okay, and I think that through the discussion tonight, are there any additional, variances that you had thought through that you were going to need to pursue? Should you be able to carry out, the administrative subdivision, to support building the residence? Have you thought that far in advance?
A little bit. Robert and I've talked about, getting a variance on both sides, and possibly vacating the alley behind. I know that Matt Grube is planning on doing that down at his location down by Teeter Creek. So I was thinking maybe that was an option.
One of the things that, we struggle with around the lake is stormwater management. And the requirements there are to maintain, the stormwater within the lot lines, that are established. Have you thought about, given the size of this and the challenges, of that size, have you thought about how to manage that stormwater?
No, I really haven't considered that, but I'm in talking with Robert again, it was basically discussed that, I probably wouldn't need to put a driveway in or anything, so, that would be, just grassland that would be permeable to let, rain and water go through, I guess.
And you'd be looking for a specific address to be established for this in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once I combine the lots, that would all be in, I guess the planning. In thinking this through, I just thought, to attempt to get this process done first, and then we deal with, the other options later.
And are there any thoughts of performing any kind of a home business activity out of the resulting residence?
What was that question again? I'm sorry.
Do you have any thoughts of doing a home business out of it?
No.
Would a home business include rentals? Yes. Yeah, well, Bruce, or you added that.
No, not, there's no intent in making it a rental. The intent basically is, so that my children will have something, an option. They love Clear Lake. They love being there. We've been there over 30 years now. So, that's what I'm looking for.
Just a question, Bruce, would you be willing to update your application with any of the details, answers to the question that is asked?
Absolutely. I mean, right now I'm on a vacation, but I'll be back up there early August.
I don't have anything more.
Okay. Other questions for the
Thanks,
applicant?
Bruce.
Yeah.
No, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, but not for that.
Okay, we can come back to that. All right. Okay, at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to open it up for public discussion. I have a motion for that.
This is George. I think that we open the meeting up for public discussion.
Right, I have a motion and a second. Good. Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so the floor is open for public comment. The first public comment opportunity would be for those in support of the applicant. One in support. Okay, hearing none, then anyone that opposes the application. Large group, and we had a large outpouring of public feedback, so you're welcome to vocalize your comments.
I'll say it was.
Yeah, please do, have the podium. And the comments help the panel here, assess the criteria. They really do. The public feedback is important to us, and that comes a little bit, without the face, so this is good. Thank you.
So, Chris Schwenker, East Hurst condos, unit 16. Clearly speaking, because I'm not in support, but I actually just wanted to make, plan to ask a question, actually. But the conversation that took place just now, I thought was really instructive, because to me, it's interesting. I've only been coming to these meetings for about a year. And maybe for the first time, I understood there's actually a very clear set of objective criteria. Not necessarily the 5 that you see there. Objective criteria that can be used to evaluate before the fact, actually, these variance requests. And, it's great that we had that conversation in this setting, but it seems to me there'd be an opportunity to apply those objective criteria even before the variance request get this far. It's kind of an observation. Yeah, the other observation, as an interested owner around the lake, is that when these variance requests come to us through published means, it'd be really helpful if we could see a little more information about what the request actually entails. Not seeking opinion here, but more fact, so we could kind of evaluate as individuals who are going to weigh in pro or con, and try to be helpful at this time. Last thing I'll say is thank you for addressing the variance request early in the agenda. What type of additional, what kind of additional information or data were you looking at or wanting, and could you refer to that in a second? Well, I mentioned objective criteria, and I think there was a reference to that earlier. 5 mentioned in this quest, but those weren't as instructive to me as the conversation was. So if you're pulling those pieces of the UDO or the comprehensive plan out that are applicable in this particular case, I have not. I will fess up, I haven't read the UDO, read the comprehensive plan. I'm interested in this topic and make all of that a little more accessible. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? Okay, move on. We need a motion to close for public comment. Go ahead.
So moved.
All right.
Sorry.
A motion to close. George, I'll second the motion. Second to close. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Okay, motion passed. So this opens up PC discussion. Back and forth amongst ourselves.
I have a question for Mike, and I don't know if you can answer or not. It was presented tonight that you cannot consolidate lots across subdivision lines. Are you aware of that? And there has to be some remedy to clear that hurdle. You cannot believe that it's an absolute no can do.
Right, I've not heard of that before. Robert just informed me of that as we're sitting here. I had not heard of that. And I mean, when you have platted subdivisions, you're always going to have, or in many instances, have 2 that are joining or abutting each other. And it seems like there would have to be some sort of remedy. We could either apply to have that lot become a part of the other subdivision. Or I'm sure there's a process. I just not seen that before.
Right. And my reasoning behind it is because in Michigan, that's an actual law, that you can't combine meets and bounds and subdivisions together when they're part of their own plat. You have to have it entirely replatted by Michigan law. So when I got here and that question presented itself, I asked the assessor who deals with that. And the assessor told me,
So the triangle lots.
No, they're all flat. Yeah, but you can't do one subdivision to another either, so it's meets and bounds to, meets and bounds to a subdivision and subdivision separate, right? So, but that's what the, I apologize, it was not an assessor and asked that question, that's something that presents an issue, and I'm just curious.
I don't like to speak in hypotheticals, but if I own two lots in two different subdivisions, and I call a realtor, a surveyor to resurvey my two lots and put it into one. I suspect that surveyor will give me a survey with a legal description of one lot that is now straddling two subdivisions. And that, I suspect, is the reportable.
I don't know. All I can tell you is what the government official in Stephen County told.
Well, this, I think Bruce probably needs to find this out for fact, because it is handicapping him and possibly what he wants to do in the future. That's not this commission's problem, Bruce, but that's something I think you need to follow up.
Okay. I just, that would, again, that was my original intent. And then in talking to Robert, I just basically changed my plans. I guess I'll have to get together with Robert and maybe the county commissioners and see what the process is.
If you were to do that, that would get your buildable lot now up to about 8,200 square feet. In that neighborhood, 8,200, 8,300 square feet, which is a shout better than 3,000.
But it still wouldn't be.
It's still under our standards.
But it's still be in the neighborhood.
Right. Yes, yes.
I mean, wouldn't be.
Okay. Yeah, you couldn't do it, that's correct. Although it's been done here.
Well, I guess if that's a possibility, then I would like to pursue it. And I guess that question goes to Robert and the authorities, I guess.
I guess I got us off track, and my apologies. Our focus here is to change the zoning of these two lots in front of us and try to get back on track. Sorry for the song.
Okay, any comments around the board? Jim, you had one.
It was really along exactly the same lines. What are the impediments to crossing the two subdivision lines? And did I understand, Bruce, you to say that your first choice was to combine the three lots, your current 5,000 square footage and the new combined two triangular lots of 3,000 square feet to build an expansion of your existing home in the form of a garage?
Yeah, that was my original intent when I bought the lot. And then I basically found out through this that it was
But if there is a legal path to do that through rezoning and then the Board of Zoning Appeals, would it be beneficial if we did not make a decision tonight?
And postpone it.
Postpone it?
That's what I would.
yeah, I guess, I mean, that's something I'd have to delve into. And, I can meet with Robert and can talk to whoever the people are that would allow this to happen if it was possible.
It would be a complicated path, even if it was possible.
I'm sorry, what was that?
My apologies, Bruce. I said it would be a complicated path through the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals to get permission if we're able to combine the three lots into one. It would not be a slam dunk.
Okay.
But the idea of adding an addition to your SR house is certainly, to me, more palatable than trying to build something on the 2,000 square foot lot.
I think
Okay.
bottom line is, Bruce, we understand families are growing and there's expansion.
We want to do that in any way we can. However, we want to try to do that within the confines of not adding additional buildings or additional residences. Because oftentimes, you may grow the family now, but 10, 20 years down the road, 15 years down the road, there may be some issues with family members, that splits. And then now we have two different residences. Although your intent is not that today, we have to look down the road and look at the consequences of the planning stage to really understand what's happening. So, I would love to be able to combine those and expand your current residence rather than trying to, fit a round peg into a square hole and try to jump through hoops from that perspective.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I think that would be highly desirable on my end. And if that's a possibility, I would like to pursue it.
Yeah, I would offer my comments, thinking about the criteria that's in front of us, the responsible growth and development. Dan asked some pointed questions around that. Some of the answers or solutions are unclear, so my assessment, we don't really have a clear path of responsible growth, because we don't know what that path is going to be. And then we've got the Town of Clear Lake comprehensive plan, and there are some elements in the comprehensive plan that specifically describe, I'm not going to get the words right, but to I guess discourage additional single-family residents. Not, maybe misspeaking, but it's very close to that. So there's some elements of that we all need to take into account.
Well, Bill, you're right, and also Bruce, I don't know if you've seen the results of the feedback forum that was available to the entire community. This speaks volumes of what you're trying to do in rezone these two lots. And the results were out of 63 respondents, only one was supportive of what you want to do, and 62 were not supportive, opposed to. That's over 98% of the community is opposed to this endeavor. And then Bruce had also suggested, if you haven't read our comprehensive plan, it's available online, to read the comprehensive plan, because that speaks directly of the feelings of the community. And you'll find they're very consistent, they're a very similar number to the 98% in the immediate feedback form. And that is 91% of the community does not want additional development, which would be if you take your lot that we're talking about here today and pop a house on it. 91% of the community does not want that, and you can see that in the comprehensive plan as you read through. You also get a flavor of how the community really feels about our natural resources, our green areas, our developments. So it's pretty loud right now in the community as to opposing what you want to do. So I would suggest you take another tack and see if there's not an alternative to just rezoning these two parcels and then trying to build something.
Okay, I understand that. And when I get back, I'll set up a meeting with Robert and see what I have to do to try and combine all three lots. That would be the best outcome for me. And then I would be able to put, attachment of a garage or with a living space on it or something, I totally understand where you're coming from and the board's coming from.
Okay. Any other discussion points, comments from PC? With that, then I look for a motion or a recommendation here.
Before that, could I ask Robert to explain to me and Mr. Crow what his options are at this point in time? I mean, is there any advantage, Mr. Crow, to asking us to come to a conclusion, or could this be postponed, or on. I don't know what the alternatives are.
At this point, I'd say postpone. For further.
And may I interject? And that would be fine if there was a postponement until I got back and we could sit down and, discuss how I can combine the 3 lots and if it's possible. And then I can bring it back to the board with some new plans.
We plan to scrap this application, assuming we would completely start over. So
Right,
whether
right.
we postpone now and you go that route, or we just simply make an unfavorable recommendation and you can still.
No, I think you should do an amendment.
Or amended application.
Yeah, yes,
It's a significant, okay, there won't be many words that will stay back, other than name of the applicant. Right.
The postponing though is to make sure that he cannot go those other routes and then continue to proceed with bringing this back. to us. But if he can go those other routes, then we can totally withdraw it.
Yeah, that's, okay. So I still need a motion here.
So before we go to the motion, I'd like to make sure that we've captured the essence of the action that it sounds like produced would undertake, should we postpone it. I asked for earlier for the application to be updated to fully describe the intended development, including at a minimum the answers to the questions that I asked, which I can provide Robert, and its use/uses. Describe the associated procedural steps he intends to take, mainly the administrative subdivision, which would allow him then to describe whether or not he's planning to do 2 or more lots to include the existing lot. A statement describing the need or lack thereof for future section 2 lot related variances. That covers the setback concerns that we have, the overall area concerns of the lot. A statement describing the need for town resources, namely sewer connections, traffic, parking, signage, goes to some of the safety concerns that we heard from the resident feedback. Any needs for additional, marshal zoning and BZA kind of goes to whether there's future variances required, etc. So think through that. A statement describing any impact to the residents within the affected zone of 300 feet. So just to at least put some thought into, parking comes to mind and things of that nature that may have an effect on the residents in the immediate area. And then I would like to see a statement from the town street and sewer superintendent that the intended development has been reviewed and is supportable by the current assets. So that would come from Guy. And that's kind of depending on whether or not you're going to use your existing perimeter or things of that nature. So it's all kind of interrelated and tied together, but those are the things that I captured. That if we ask the applicant to answer and have answers for us, would allow us to make a much better judgment as to whether this is an orderly development. So my question to my planning commission peers is, did I miss anything? All right. So I would move to postpone the matter of rezoning request 2023-01 until the next regular plan commission session, allowing the applicant to update the application with the information described that I just described, and I'll provide all the extra.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to postpone this. Some follow-up by the applicant as Dan outlined and Mr. Krill, just awareness, we'll try to capture meeting minutes, Robert's writing. And this is also recorded live, so you have a chance to listen to some of the comments directly if you want to for a replay.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay, so with that, we look for a vote. I think in this case, we'll make a yay or nay vote. So all those in favor of postponing this, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so this application is postponed. The next opportunity for you, Mr. Krill, will be November 6th, I believe.
Okay,
Yes,
that
November.
works out perfect.
All right, very good.
And I'll get with Robert and we'll discuss it further.
All right.
All right, thank you. I'd like to thank the board for
All right.
your consideration.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
All right, take care.
Okay, back to the agenda. This closes out new business. We have a couple items or this closes out old business. We have a couple items of new business. The first being the UDO change 2023 02. Somebody pulls that up.
So we have completed all the.
Okay.
Sorry that we, yeah.
No, this one, 2023-01. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. 2023-01. On old business. So in terms of the change process that Robert will review or pull up. So just to orient everybody, we are currently at steps 3 and 4. This was reviewed once before. We had some questions. We're back here for some further clarification that came up. Our objective as a PC here will discuss the merits of the change and vote if the change can move forward to step 5, which then opens it up for public comment. The discussion is not open for public comment at this time. So our process will be that the sponsor, which is George, he'll review the change. The PC has the opportunity here then to have some open discussion on the merits of the change. And ultimately we'll call for a motion to allow us to move to step 5. With that, I'll turn it over to George.
Well, thank you, Bill. Tonight I'm reintroducing UDO change form number 2023-01 that addresses the definition of accessory structures occupiable. And with Dan Rippey's help, we're also going to address the definition of guest quarters. These proposed changes were initiated at the request of both the community and council members. First, at the April 11th BZA hearing, the definition of accessory structures occupiable was introduced into discussion, and confusion followed regarding its meaning. Second, as I worked through the definition of accessory structures occupiable, Dan Rippey identified a need to modify the definition of guest quarters. So my research took me back through November 9th of 2020, where we discovered there was confusion at a plan commission meeting regarding development with the use and place of guest quarters. So both the guest quarters and the accessory structures occupiable, their definitions cause some confusion as we get into development. So the following changes are proposed. First, a change to Article 11, which is definitions on page 11-03, specifically accessory structures occupiable. And what I'd like to do is to read the paragraph and note the changes as I go, rather than reading it twice. I'll just go through it once and note the changes as I proceed. So the current paragraph reads in the definition of accessory structures occupiable. It's an accessory structure used as a non-inhabitable. And we are inserting the word non-inhabitable. Previous, it read habitable space. So that's the first change, non-inhabitable space that is clearly complementary and incidental to the primary structure use. That is recreation rooms, artist studios, and then in addition is or woodworking shops. It previously read, the original read, recreation rooms, artist studios, woodworking shops, or guest quarters. So we've deleted guest quarters out and put an or after artist studio to take you to the woodworking shops. Then we move on. An occupiable accessory structure shall not include residential units, studio apartments. We inserted guest quarters and businesses. An occupiable structure may be combined with storage-based accessory structure. And that can all be found in our UDO definitions, page 1103. The next proposal, again, it's Article 11 definitions, page 11-16, specifically guest quarters. Currently, it reads, guest quarters, an accessory structure used for overnight guests, such as sleeping rooms. Then it previously had, which we're deleting, including a full bathroom and climate control for cold season, not including a kitchen. Guest quarters are not rental units or boarding houses. And then we added, after that deletion, is not permitted in any district for any length of time. And that's again, it's page 11-16. Dan, I'll stop. And do you have anything you'd like to add before I go into the basis of the change?
No, I think that those changes give us you can pull a thread through the UDO. There's no inconsistencies, and I think it better piece. Thanks for making those up.
Thanks. The next step that I want to take is to discuss the basics for these changes. And there's three basic reasons for them. One was to remove contradiction. The second is to add clarity. And the third is to support the comprehensive plan. Contradiction, the accessory structure occupiable in guest quarters implies residential when the sentence that follows specifically states that an occupiable structure shall not include residential units, studio apartments, and businesses. So that is a contradiction within one sentence of each other. Second, additionally, in a specific definition of accessory structures, bullet point number 7 states, is not designed for human occupancy as a dwelling or commercial use. Again, that was contradicting the human or commercial use. Clarity. There's great confusion during the April 11th BZA variance hearing, as well as November 9th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting regarding the definitions, and was introduced into discussion. This change could correct the erroneous placement of the word guest quarters and clear up the confusion. Guest quarters was introduced as an argument for water and sewer and a variance request. Lastly, the support of the comprehensive plan, which is sort of the Bible of the Plan Commission. Under the heading in the comprehensive plan of housing, policy 2.2 discourages new residential development, particularly those with direct access to the lake, and prohibits new and existing channel development. The objective is, this is 2.2.1, eliminate new second and third tier access to Clear Lake and subsequent larger pier constructions in residential areas. And objective 2.2.2, enforce and strengthen the anti-funneling guidance. Again, in comprehensive plan land use, policy 7.4 prohibits any development that may endanger, obstruct, harm, or otherwise negatively impact the residential quality of the town. Objective 7.4.1, preserve and enhance the residential quality of the town. Land use classification in the 2013 update to Clear Lake's comprehensive plan on page 50. It specifically states that lake accessory areas classified as lake accessory includes lots used with adjacent lake residential uses, primarily for parking and storage. And that is the three justifications or basis for the proposed changes. Again, Dan, anything that you'd like to add? No. Can I open up for questions? Questions, please.
My only comment, I like, we struggled with this last time, understanding the definition, when you say non-habitable. If you look up habitable in the dictionary, it says suitable or good enough to live in. And I think this really irons out that the intention is not to live in. So non-habitable means it is not designed to live in, but it's designed to use and to enjoy as a rec room. So I think that brings a lot of clarity. That would be.
Thank you.
We actually have a definition in our UDO for habitable too that supports.
The habitable is used 8 times in the UDO.
I don't quite have it memorized yet. I'm working.
And do we feel that a definition of habitable is sufficient?
Habitable space, any space that is structured suitable for living, sleeping, eating, cooking purposes, excluding such enclosed spaces as closets, pantries, bathrooms, toilet rooms, hallway, laundry, storage spaces, utility rooms, and similar spaces.
Beyond Webster.
Yes,
yeah. That's page 11 days 16.
Question for George? Okay, if none, then I entertain a motion to adopt this UDO and allow it to move on for public comment.
I'll make the motion, okay, sure. I'll move that the UDO change log number 2023-01 be scheduled for public hearing at the next regularly scheduled plan commission meeting on November 6th, 2023.
I would second that.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, aye. Six in favor and 1 opposed. Am I right?
Yes.
So the motion or the amendment is approved, and we'll take it on for public comment forward, which will be reviewed in our November meeting
For public hearing.
for public hearing. So the reference then, there'll be notice that it will come out, I think, October 9th is the date.
Yes.
Okay, so the notice for public hearing will come out October 9th. There will be a public feedback form and then start the.
Well, it's actually the deadline, it's 10 days before, it'll be with about a week.
All right. Sorry.
Okay, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, George. Good speaking to you. The old business now, I think I have completed. The new business is UDO change 2023-02. And Robert will display that. This is a new change. Regards to the footprint of primary structure. So it's the first time this has been reviewed. And the sponsor of this one, based on some discussion with Robert and others for clarification purpose. So it's going to be a discussion amongst the PC here. Again, not open for public comment at this time. So with that, let me pull it up here so I can read it off on my side. Just a moment. Okay, so this is UDO 2023-02. In the description is the footprint of primary structure. It's Article 15.13.c on page 5-12. There are some comprehensive plan objectives that are referenced or impacted here. Policy 7.2, objective 7.2.1. Ensure that existing and future Clear Lake property owners can move through the permitting procedure as quickly as possible while still protecting the interests of the town. Policy 2.1, objective 2.1.2, continue to review and modify as necessary land use regulations so that property values are protected and enhanced. So the description of the change is we're going to change UDO 5.13.c and add 5.13.d. That the basis of the change in 5.13.c as it applies to LA structures, it's overly restrictive. And we'll come to that point. So essentially, we're looking to reduce some of the restrictions that are there. The proposed revision will create a standard that will reduce the likelihood of residents requesting a variance and achieve desired architectural features. So in the language, you can see it in the front area. In the area that I want to point or draw everybody's attention to is really the last sentence. There are 6 foundation segments. The shortest segment shall be at least 10% of the entire foundation's perimeter. That's really the point in question. If you get into the detail, adhering to that is difficult. Not really difficult to achieve, but to make that then a desirable garage, it makes it tough. So the proposal is to say reduce that language in the segment. That language will apply for lake residents, but for LA lots, we will eliminate that. And then with that, we will add a section. LA lot shall meet the standards of section 5.13.d. And the new language, 5.13.d, we're missing that on the application. I apologize for that. LA lot footprint of primary structure. Structure shall have a minimum of 6 foundation segments, and the shortest segment shall be no less than 6 feet. So just as a reference point, if you have a garage and an LA structure, and we allow 1,440 square feet, just for easy math, call that a 30 by 40. That's only 1,200, but I'm going to do that for easy math. A 30 by 40 creates 140 total length of perimeter. And that means your shortest side would be no less than 14 feet. That's a big distance. And just as an example, Robert, will you flip over to the PowerPoint presentation I sent? I took the liberty of taking some pictures of some LA garages that have been recently constructed. In my opinion, they're good, solid structures. They look good. They've been recent builds, but unfortunately, non-compliant. The reason for that is a little hard to determine. It goes back many zoning administrators for certain. I'm also confident that they did not apply for variance. So again, I took the liberty for these, not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I may not have all the addresses exactly correct. I tried to reference some of the houses across the street. But on this one, it's 74 West Clear Lake. It's legally non-compliant. Really, actually, all of these are legally non-compliant. They applied for permits, but they do not comply with the current UDO as described. This one, 4 sides, 2 planes. This describes the 4 sides on the structure, and the planes is in terms of the roof. Really, what should be there are 6 sides, 4 planes, and again, one side should be no less than 10% of the total. So this one is non-compliant in both the sides and in the planes. This one at 74 West Clear Lake, and these are on a row here on West Clear Lake. They're all relatively new. Again, I consider them good looking structure. Legally non-compliant. This has 6 sides and 6 planes. The shortest side is not 10% of the perimeter. I've measured them. They vary anywhere from 3 to 9 feet. 9 feet is the longest one I found in this series of pictures we're finding. Next one, 72 is under construction. 6 sides, 4 planes. Sorry. That side is not 10% of the perimeter. Next one. 48, same situation, not 10% of the perimeter. Next one, 46, same thing. 6 sides, 6 planes, shortest side is not 10%. 44, same situation. Keep going. You guys are getting the drift here. This is one on Quiet Harbor, probably one of the more recent last year. 4 sides, not 6, only 4 in this case, and only 2 planes. So really non-compliance in 2 areas. Next one. This is one that's under construction also. It is the only one I found. I'm sure there's others, but it's the ones I found in my quick tour that is sufficiently making my point, I'm sure. Legally compliant, 6 sides, 5 planes. Full compliance, but as you'll see, that where the area of difficulty is, that 6th side, if you will, is quite long. And in fact, that garage space probably will not serve as a useful for a large vehicle. It's useful for space, but you couldn't park for sure an extended cab pickup truck there, which I think needs about 22 feet. And the last one, one that we revere as a good example that fits all the space and it's very useful. And the residents here, I may have gotten your address wrong. I wasn't picture with it.
What's the name?
And you're probably wringing your hands. 4 sides, 6 planes. Unfortunately, the shorter side is not 10%. So it's clear, I hope, that really applying UDO as written makes it difficult for us to achieve what we're looking for: useful garage space, architectural features of the 6 sides and roof structure, but making that 10% makes it tough. So the proposal would be as described, and with that, I'll open it up for some discussion.
So all of that bill is predicated on the fact that this architectural standard applies to storage accessory buildings, as opposed to the project applicability is new primary structures and new accessory buildings.
Not sure. Sure.
Yeah, well, so primary structures are living, are habitable structures. And so if what we're talking about is habitable structures, which is why primary is listed, and the accessory buildings, which are habitable, which is occupiable accessory structures, and commercial structures, which is why the applicable districts have an C. Then the requirements below that you were applying to the accessory storage accessory are not consistent with what this fine means.
Hey, well, that's where I was going to pull out 5.13. New, new segment in this, would only apply to LA structures.
Okay, so you're right, you're writing a separate section pulling down and addressing only LA, the LA district
Yes, yes,
and all inclusive.
correct. Yeah, well, Rob and I had some discussion and, you know, we thought rather than create an entirely new segment, we'll just call out LA structure.
I just didn't want anybody, you stated that these are all not compliant. I don't agree that they're not compliant with the current standard. I think that the current standard, the only thing I was pointing out is the current standard is for habitable structures. And that's what's driving me to specifically address LA districts, which are now non-habitable structures. If the change that we just elected to push forward goes through. So I just want to make that distinction, because I don't want the public, in my mind, to leave here thinking that we made a mistake all the structures. That they should have picked. Because I don't think 5.13 applies to storage-based accessory structures. There is no provision in 5.13 for storage-based accessory structures. The way I read it.
It usually tries to call out primary structure. The structure on that lot, the primary structure on the lot.
Primary is defined by habitable, being habitable. And LA districts do have habitable structures. They're called occupiable accessory structures. So if you had an occupiable accessory structure on an LA lot, this architectural standard applies. But the storage base would not fall under this standard.
So we need to.
Unless the change that you're promoting adds specifically cites the LA structure and links it to where I think you want to go. Partly I'm trying to understand where we need to go. Could we hold this conversation down? I'm just trying to, in my own mind, figure out where you want to go with this change. Make sure that it's consistent with the current.
Yeah, so do we need to enhance that? With I think where I was looking is to that the storage-based accessory structure would have these architectural features.
Yeah, I think that if we write a separate paragraph, if we want to pursue this change, that specifically cites LA different all structures, we don't need to reference primary because we're talking about all structures. And then proceed with, your description of. I think that would. So the main takeaway that I'm trying to communicate is that the pictures that were promoted, I think you said were non-compliant. Is not, I don't believe it's a true statement because they were, storage-based accessory structures. Do not apply currently to this architectural standard 5.1.
Okay, so I missed that. I stand corrected on that point.
And then I'm seeing a D in the current, so we would be adding a D.
It was an addition of a D. So currently, it's just ABC in that current section. So the D was the addition.
That I'm seeing in the current UDO and A, B, C, D. D being front facade orientation. Title.
See that.
Again, I just think.
Yeah, no,
It's figuring out.
we may have been looking at it electronically and then scroll down.
Figure it
No, it's on the same page, at least, well, it's in the current printed form that I have, but maybe they get flipped over on one to choose. Right up to
5.5-12, page number on one. Building, taking a step back in 30,000 foot view is. What are the specific indications that we have? You know, that this change is necessary, and typically when I think about that, what I look for is kind of an overriding kind of public. Expression of concern. Either or contractors having difficulty. Meeting a particular UDO requirement, or there's a kind of a preponderance of BZA variance requests coming in that suggests that in fact we've got a language problem. I'm not seeing that on this when I look into it. I guess what do you have that you response?
Yeah, I missed the issue of the definition of primary structure. So I was working off the basis that many of these structures were being built and they weren't compliant. Putting the zoning administrator in a difficult spot. But without that, then maybe that motivation goes away. But I'm still looking for us to think about the architectural features of LA buildings and still apply those features being 6 planes and more than 4 sides. Get what some communities are seeing, and we just get a row of 4-sided 2-plane buildings, which are somewhat vanilla, may not be as appealing as we like.
As you're restricting them, being strictly storage buildings, that was to maximize storage space. Those 4-sided 2-plane buildings are perfect.
They are, but maybe not appealing, so that's
Well,
why. But that offset, which you saw all those buildings, is pretty good. And I was in, the proposal was 6 feet, which is about the average of those offsets. So I'm really just looking to get closer to what is being currently.
I certainly like the fact that your approach is more liberal.
Maybe it's a rarity, but not much.
why are we dictating that? But because we can, or because someone has a fire?
Because we do describe that we want architectural features on the lakeside and the storage sheds are equally visible.
So long you said that those storage sheds can be habitable. No storage shed.
But still equally visible to all of us.
Okay. I appreciate your attempt to liberalize the unbuildable language, which doesn't apply.
I think another area that may be looked at is section 509, lake accessory structure standards. And that maybe speaks more to what you're talking about. As maximum size, et cetera. And that's really where it talks about the materials. Because we want the exterior finish and facade for all storage-based accessories and structures viable. They shall match, closely resemble, or significantly complement the character of the surrounding area. And I think the idea was that if you want to have something on the other side of the road that's going to, as closely as possible, resemble something on the lake residential as you do on the lake accessory, I think that's where the intent of that is. Maybe something in that area could be more applicable to what we're talking about at this point.
I don't have my comprehensive plan with me, but if you go to the comprehensive plan and reread it, aesthetics is addressed in it, and the community is asking for good aesthetics in all of their architecture. They want the architectural touch to it. It's not a Bullock garage.
And to the point south, envelope, height, materials, etc.
Yeah.
Being complementary to the primary structure.
And a couple of lines on it.
Highly acceptable, no problem at all.
Yeah, so again, I was hoping not to be overly restrictive, but just to ensure we get that appearance.
You're forcing them to give up a significant portion of it. 6 feet is much better.
But the other thing that couldn't resolve directly, Bill, was the shed. Sheds are allowed on LA, in LA district, we can have up to 2 sheds. We only limit those by square footage. We specifically say that if we have two storage accessory structures, we can only have a shed. So one of those can only be a shed of 134 square feet. And so those are not going to be this updated. This updated language. So have you thought about that?
Yes, we have. Richard, Robert and I were kicking that very topic around, and we thought we may get clarified, as may add that those sheds would be excluded from this requirement.
Personally, I have a I like my.
But there's a foundation requirement and something, a roof line requirement, that right, Robert, but the plane requirement, yeah, we thought we may need to add that language in there. So that those.
But I cleaned out my shed.
Could you finish before you got it clean? Somehow.
I did somehow, but I don't know how. We're saying what we're doing. Yeah, so I need to understand how we will preserve the ability to have that.
I think we probably need to add some language to consider the ability to have simple. Okay, any other comments? So if not, I look for a motion to approve this with some additional language around look to ensure that applies to LA structure. So we don't have any conflict with primary structure, which is defined as habitable. So we'll do some homework on that. We need it probably won't be 5.13.b, and they need to be point E, but we'll make sure.
It's actually gonna be, if anything, because it still needs to be. I don't know, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we get the numbering was
pending updates.
well. Good if necessary, or probably necessary to get it cleaned up. So we'll bring it back in November with these cleanup points, but I just want to make sure I got the key points right. And then we're gonna add some language to have the shed definition. Shed requirements, the definition there is the requirement. Okay, very good. Thank you for the help on that.
Change. Bottom right corner, if there are 7 and 6 is in brackets. That would be consistent with your.
Yeah. That actually, that's an error in the existing.
I know. But as long as we're fixing it,
Yeah,
we might as well
yeah.
fix it.
And
First line says, it's been with us a while.
yeah,
There's 6 foundation segments, and then if there are 7 or more, then it has 6 in parentheses.
Interesting.
that's a long standing. Okay. So we don't need a vote on that. That'll come back. Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. Some additional new business, 101 billing report update. Bringing this just as a communication point, that some of you know there's been some remodeling work going on at 101 Billings Court. The home actually has a legally non-compliant issue with the location of the lakeside wall. My understanding is approximately 4 feet beyond the building line. The setback is sufficient, the lake setback is sufficient. And with that, there was some concern around what was approved in the building permit versus what was actually occurring. Stop work order was issued approximately 1 month ago. I don't recall the date. And with that, it created a need to review and resolve with the owner and the contractor. And with that, I'll hand it over to Robert and Mike as they've been in the details with all the corporate parties to resolve that.
I think you summarized it well, and there's really no action for the planning commission tonight. It's just a point because it was so well known or emailed out about this topic. But as you mentioned, the stop work order was placed on it because of the removal of some of those items that were not in compliance with the ILP that was issued. Zoning administrator looked at it for other issues with respect to whether the legal non-conforming portion of the structure could remain. And on review of the UDO, we determined that it could. So we notified the builder of that fact, removed the stop work order, and they've withdrawn their appeal of his initial determination that it was no longer legal non-conforming. So.
And the appeal was headed to the BZA, so then it eliminates.
Yeah, and I'd like
the BZA to hear that.
Take exception to this, if I may, my understanding, and the BZA is not represented there. The portion of the building that was non-conforming was not to be changed, and they changed it. So the fact that it was a significant portion of the structure or not is inconsequential. I mean, what does legal non-conforming mean to the BZA? If it isn't, you can't change it.
Right, I agree with you. The issue was the ambiguity in the ordinance as to, which was pointed out by them that, you know, if it was substantially or completely raised, and they submitted the plans to us, showed what the work was that was going to be performed. Our ordinance doesn't define what substantially is. And so they also pointed to another section in the UDO that says they've got the right to always rehabilitate or resurface and remodel that portion of within the shed. And so practically speaking, sort of a distinction without a difference, if they can go in and replace all the 2x4s and replace all the siding. But it was to the point where it's like, well, what's the difference if they take that down and replace it with all new, or if they just do a piecemeal in the dark of night?
But it's my understanding that it was significantly changed.
No, it was reconstructed in the same location as where it was previously. So it's built on the same foundation, the same heights and dimensions, correct?
Can't speak to height. I can't say that they increased the height by any of that, because I didn't believe it's. I want to say it's some.
That would be change.
Yeah, we knew that was
Scratch.
But like, wasn't the concern that in order to modify, there has to be at least some portion of the building standing and intact?
I don't think that's significant in this case.
Well, I know, but what I'm trying to get to is a definition.
That's the problem, is our ordinance doesn't say what it has to be, it just says whether or not it's significantly or completely raised. And so that was the issue, what is significant?
Well, significant is not complete. But in my traveling by there, they did take the entire structure down. That's complete.
other than the foundation.
Other than the foundation.
They claim that they had left several walls, exterior walls that are now interior walls. So. That's where it got to the point where, you know, it was difficult for us to say, well. You know, is this a legally defensible position in that? If it was gonna, those were the plans they submitted us at the beginning and we approved it and issued an LP, why didn't we tell them they couldn't do it then?
I guess the other question that I have concerns with is, I just want to make sure we're not setting a precedent or people think down the road that if, you know, maybe we just have to be a little bit more mindful in some areas. But what lessons did we learn from this? What can we move forward with, and what do we need to modify to prevent, right, this kind of an anomaly in the future?
And those were some of the discussions that I had with Robert. We thought the two of the things were going to be was with respect to, and you may have thought of more since this, but with respect to the demolition permit, to find out exactly what it is that they're taking down, what it is that they're leaving remaining, and then set a projected criteria on the percentage that has to remain in order for it to keep its legal status.
But in this case, and in many of the cases, it isn't the percentage, it's the fact that this was encroaching into the lake region of the lake setback. And if they were going to modify that structure, they need to rectify that.
Well, that's what we're arguing about with them, is to what extent do they have to remove it before they have to comply with it? So they're saying, well, let's only left the foundation, they left a couple of interior walls. This was all submitted to the town, you could approve it.
In my opinion, the part they needed to rectify was the encroachment past the setback.
Right. And that's why we made the initial determination we did. But in looking at the UDO, it seems like it could be a difficult position to defend just because of some of the ambiguity in the language. We thought it made sense to tighten up that language and tighten up sort of the process that.
BZA certainly needs some guidance on what non-compliant is. This, letting the contractors decide what they're going to do is certainly not healthy.
One other area, I think, in terms of lessons learned, just communication. We have enough discussion, live discussion, to really understand what their intent was. They submitted plans. Apparently, the interpretation of the plans.
I believe that the conversation between Star Homes and our zoning administrator was quite clear that portion of the property was not to the side yard.
Clear in Robert's mind and not clear in their mind. One thing for me that made a little bit palatable is both neighbors have agreed that the existing structure was acceptable and rebuilding at the same footprint is also. And if setback, the lake setback was sufficient, but the building setback was not. Is that the right way to describe it?
It's how it's building setback, yeah.
So that was also another element that at least made it a little bit how to be as I was listening to the arguments that were being made. So that was the intent. I wanted to communicate that. There was some email to many of the board members, and I wanted to make sure we had a chance to understand discussion, a resolution, the outcome. Certainly not to set a precedent. We will be entertaining change, try and clarify this. So we don't have Robert in a different spot, and then certainly just experience will help us.
Yeah, I agree, Bill. The work in front of the Plan Commission is to resolve the definition of substantial. That's our work. As far as legal non-conforming, I think that's well defined. I think that that this all surrounded this what is substantial and what isn't substantial. And really, right now, that needs to be applied to the entire project, not just one wall. Okay, so
perhaps maybe it should focus more carefully on what is
The permanent. Combination of Florida joists, and then roof is coming out, and I knew some parts of the interior of the wall. And that's where the question of substantial. Now, did they follow that? But then that argument came into substantial.
We're to focus very clearly on what is not. I mean, if the building is built in a non-conforming fashion, and the whole thing isn't substantially altered, they can do anything they want. So anyway, yeah, that's a Plan Commission next.
yeah, right. We ask Robert every day to make compliance assessments. Those are very discreet. You're dealing with numbers, you can make a compliance assessment readily. When you're dealing with terms, the definition, that's where it gets funny. That's why the work in front of us is to deal with substantial.
Okay, good. Thank you for the review. Last point, just a UDO comprehensive plan update again, primarily for the board here. We talked about this last time, and it's been considered objective for the PC for some time. The scope of work and a request for quote was sent out, I mean, 6 months ago now. And we sent out to 4 different planning firms. We had 2 responses back. Still pushing for further input from the other 2 firms. The executive PC members, which is Jim and Dan and I, plus Robert, we did have some discussion informal discussion with one of the firms that did respond to us. And we reviewed our thoughts with the town council at the recent town council meeting. And what I had proposed to the town council is that the PC will continue to interview and make assessments of the different firms. Ultimately with two decisions, one, whether or not it makes sense for us to proceed with this endeavor to update and what extent the update should entail, whether it's a minor or a major. Those could be up to interpretation of what a minor major is, but nonetheless. And then, so we need to convince ourselves that it makes sense. And then the second point would be which firm we would recommend employing for this. So that's just a very brief update. Again, our push is to get additional input from the two firms that didn't reply. They just completely bow out, or they just haven't got to it, find out where they sit. We would for sure like to have at least 3 for the quoting process. So we got some bookends, if you will, in terms of cost, and it's a big gap. We'd like to see if the third one comes in between those bookends to help us with that assessment. And it's probably no less than a 24-month process as we get through the public opinion review and the surveys and all of that that are necessary and quite important for us. Any questions? Okay, with that, I think we're close to adjournment. I would like to make one comment, the public feedback electronic form that we used for the very first time. All indications are that it was very helpful. The summary work that Robert had, that form that you saw was nearly automated. There was very little input on his part for the percentages, the number of comments that were there, even the words that were described to sort of consolidate or summarize the comments was automated. It's probably a small element of AI work there, which can be a bad thing for some of us, but that was an example of it in effect, sort of helping the administrative students a lot of it. So really, I think it's successful. I haven't heard yet how much trouble or ease the public had with filling out the forms, but they came in rapidly and seemingly all complete. Yes. So good news. Yeah, you know.
I agree the forms are much better. I think for some people who don't have a computer, some older people, it would be nice if they have, I know they can come here and get a printed form, but like it would be nice if they could, somebody else could print in the form and take it to them if they're at the firm and can't, you know, get here.
And those are still, we haven't eliminated the traditional methods. They're still all available.
Yeah, but they have to come here to get the form. And then they have to come back to turn it in.
Is that true, Robert? I thought they could.
It should be online too.
And you don't print the electronic form. You have to go online and sort of print the PDF.
I'll double check to make sure the print, the intent was to leave it in case someone would rather print it off. But theoretically, if you can get on the website, print it off, you get on the website and fill the form out too. So both options.
We'll double
should be
check to
available.
make sure that is still out there.
Are you talking printing a blank form?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to print the blank form for neighbor.
But you were trying to print it off of what I had for the feedback, the electronic, right? Based off your email, that's what you were trying to do, and it won't let you do that.
So how do you do?
You can't do it with that. You would have to go back to the old form to do it, which is available, should be available.
But the old
Maybe-
form is
I know it's not.
For sure.
that's what confused before.
Well, theoretically, if you can log on the computer and you can get to the printable version off of this, you can get onto the feedback. So, but
One other comment, at 305 there, that has not changed. Are you working with them?
everything was done. Ready to throw in the garbage.
Where did you go by?
I went by it again yesterday and I saw trash bags out in front. Everything was bagged up, so majority of the stuff was cleaned up at that point.
Did you see their driveway? They still have lumber that's been laying there for months and basketball, backboard.
Well, I mean, we have to work with them because they are doing improvements in the company. My main concern right at this particular point was making sure that they got rid of the trash that's not going onto people's property. Was my big concern. So while they're still doing construction work. I mean, there's lots of properties that have lumber that are actively doing construction all over town.
This has not moved in months.
And questions regarding what the growth and they were doing something similar, and that's in it would be helpful if we could get some additional information kind of along the lines of Dan's questions in the application process. You know, what was Mr. Krill's end game? I recognize that the actual request was rezoning. However, it was to build something, or it
The
was.
application did indicate that it was for residential uses.
So, I mean, is there some way that we could expand the front end of this process somehow to communicate to us or the community what the intent of this thing is? And I don't want to get past 904. So, I mean, I just throw it out there for future discussion.
I think even if we can provide some better criteria for Robert so that he can go through, because sometimes we can avoid having conversation we had tonight, have it more meaningful, where people can look through and say, oh, I can't meet this criteria. And then we wouldn't have some of the things we have.
And I recognize that the criteria are the criteria.
Right.
And for the BZA, similarly, you know, there's other, but intent or something further would go. Thank you.
Okay. Molly, you had a point. A point up to that. I wasn't-
Somebody's got a comment on Zoom.
I confirm that major improvements were made.
At the Penner Drive. address.
Yes.
Oh, to the point of whether or not there's a project.
That's a
And then I have one comment is on the agenda, it states that the next meeting will be on Tuesday, November 6th. Tuesday is November 7th, election day. Monday is November 6th. So you will probably have to figure out when you want that November meeting.
That's on Monday. Actually.
Monday's the 6th.
Yeah, we changed it in case of an election.
It's officially Monday.
Is the meeting Monday then?
Yeah.
Monday.
Monday the 6th.
Thank you. Okay, with that, entertain a meeting, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. 9:05.
Yeah.